Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So this is hopefully the weekend that we fire this thing up. So we're in the garage right now. Matt's actually been working on this thing. He's been doing a lot of wiring so far. He's actually over there trying to figure out more wiring.
I'm having fun.
So we've got quite a bit ran already. Matt, what have you run so far already?
Well, not a lot. It's just time consuming. We got the...
See how the ground post is in. And
basically the main front harness is all done. I did the headlights and stuff. That was a cobbled together disaster. I'll probably end up redoing eventually. But I got the main power source, grounds set. I got the starter solenoid done. I got the fusible links on. I can't see. I got the wires for the radiator fan ran. I got other wires that need to come back into the cab ran, and right now I'm working on the alternator exciter wire. Once that's done, we can tidy up some of the stuff in the engine bay for the MSD, get that grounded, and then under the hood wiring wise should be done, and then all that's left is to finish all of the wiring that's inside the cab, which is 99% of the time.
so while he's doing a lot of that, I am actually working right now. Since we want to start this thing this weekend, I got to get all the I got to get the trans cooler mounted, transmission lines run, torque converter hooked up. I got to do all of that. I have to find some washers to space the torque converter correctly, and so I'm working on that. We're going to make sure that this thing is in park, because I don't have any shifter linkage hooked up. So that's one of the later things down the road. I don't need a shifter to start the car, but but we're getting there. So we're hoping this weekend we could actually fire this thing up and hear it run. And I'm excited, but I'm absolutely nervous. So I'm gonna get to work on the transmission cooler, and we're gonna take you guys along for the ride. So we're putting together the fuel lines right now. Well, thanks to my brother, I got the correct fittings, and I owe him quite a bit of money because these are not cheap. But we are doing the transmission lines right now, and I'll show you guys kind of how to go about this. So I cut my lines using a Dremel with a cutting wheel. There is actually cutting tools for AN lines, but this is just easier and faster. And then what I'll do is some of the frays on the actual hose itself will be in the way when you try to put the fitting on. So I just trim those with a little scissor. And then what you'll do, I'm gonna take this off real quick. So this is for non-PTFE lines, and PTFE AN lines have a plastic coating basically that runs through the inside of the line. It's made for ethanol. Ethanol tends to break down rubber. These are not PTFE lines. So what you'll do is this end right here, I'll take this and you kind of screw and push it on. You want to turn it at the same time. Otherwise it can tend to bunch up all the threading and whatnot on the outside of the AN line. So twist it, push it on until it meets the threads here. And then Matt actually taught me this little trick. Put just a tiny bit of WD-40 on the threads.
Actual grease, but WD-40 works.
Yeah, so basically you try not to damage the threads. So this just kind of lubes it up. So then we'll take the fitting, we'll thread it in. Now the other things that you can use for this is a little tool that you can stick inside of these and it holds the fittings in place. My vise is broken, so they don't work in this thing. So we just take our wrenches and we'll go ahead and we'll tighten this down carefully. You don't want to go too fast. Don't over tighten anything. You want it to meet each other basically. And there you have it. Your AN line is now on your AN hose. And then what you can do, if you would like, give it a nice little pull. Nice hard pull, make sure it don't come out. And bam, that is one transmission line done. Yes, these are two different fittings. They'll be fine. Transmission line number 1 is done. So we're gonna go ahead, get transmission line number 2 all put together. Okay guys, so we are making progress. Matt's making progress. He's doing most of the work. I'm learning a lot though. This is really cool. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to learn mainly about wiring. I'm getting more and more confident watching Matt do these things, having him explain things to me.
Because you're watching me do it.
And he makes it easier to understand. It might take me a few minutes to understand it, but I do end up understanding it after a little bit. But he is, what are you working on right there?
This is the MSD power.
Okay, so he's doing MSD power. I just finished the transmission lines to the cooler. We'll show you that. So I decided to rear mount the trans cooler. I hope you guys can see this. It's getting dark out. I have a lot of light. And then all the trans lines are run. They are hanging right there for right now, but I will be tucking them. But yeah, trans cooler's right there. Plenty of airflow. And we're getting there. Oh, I should probably show you guys. I put them both on because I didn't know which one I liked more, but I think we're gonna go OEM. Those just look better.
You're gonna go aftermarket for the test though.
Why for the test?
Because you don't have bulbs.
True. You're right. I don't.
So
Okay.
getting aftermarket, whether you like it or not. I'm gonna have to find that tool again.
So we are making progress. It's coming along. A lot of the wiring is done, thanks to Matt.
Most of it after this, and I ground out the MSD here. Most of it is just the inside of it. Wire the fuel pump, but I'm gonna wire that to basically a removable terminal, and then we're gonna get the aftermarket coolant temp sensor wired up just because it's there. Tach will get wired up because we need to see tach and oil pressure, and then if we have time and we feel like it, the AFR gauge. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I'll just have to finish the ignition panel just a little bit, so that's grounded and the circuits and everything can complete. And then with any luck, with the progress that we're making, we should be able to at least, hopefully, just flip power on, hook the battery up and smell for the burning wires. And if that's good, then we'll flip ignition on and then see what comes on, and then we'll test lights and make sure those come on, test turn signals, make sure those work, and then we'll hit the starter button and we'll see what happens, and then we'll go from there.
So we're getting there, slowly but surely. We are getting there. Actually, I wouldn't even say this is slow. This is actually going a lot faster than I thought it would. So, but we are getting there. We are getting there. So I don't know how much more we're going to do tonight, because it is, I think, judging by the light of the sun and the yellowness of the sky, it's about 9 o'clock.
Well, I started working on this at 3:30.
Yeah, because I was out mowing the lawn.
So I've been at this for 6 hours.
Yep. And this is also on top of a full work day for us. So we'll see what else we can get done tonight, and we'll probably pick up this video tomorrow. So, all right, guys, day 2 of the wiring project. Last night we actually got the lights to work. Had a few issues, but we're working those out right now. And we got the starter to actually bump and turn the motor over last night. So now we are buttoning up everything today, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get this thing started.
I got the MSD view downloaded.
Oh, so you can tune my car?
I'll be able to basically, well, yeah, I can tune it to just using ignition time.
Okay.
I'm just hoping that the MSD is actually in power, because those fuck faces didn't put an indicator light on it.
Yeah. So it looks like a mess up there, but so far most everything is connected. We still got gauges to wire up, which I'm trying to figure out a place to mount a distribution block. And we figured out an issue with the tail lights and brake lights. So
Yep,
Matt's currently fixing that.
That was my fault. I kind of overlooked that. Basically what I did is, before the tail light itself, this is the main tail light, I just sent that into this harness, because this is the tail light. Your brown on these cars is always going to be your tail light. Your light blue is your brake light. Well, I tied those together, and I was like, well, why the hell are we getting all the lights when we turn on the lights? So about 2.5 hours of tracking this down, and I finally figured it out, and we're kind of making my own brake light harness, but it should work. Should work.
Should. So we're going to continue with that, and we're going to make some more progress, and we'll catch up with you guys here in just a little bit. Well, Matt basically got the wiring done to a point where we should be able to try to fire this thing up. I am topping around putting trans fluid in it. We still got to bolt the converter, hook up the radiator hoses. It's got oil in it. We already tested the fuel pump. Fuel pump works. And should be ready to fire here pretty quick. Hopefully everything works.
Yeah, it's kind of just cobbled together for the most part, but everything's on the switch. I got his wideband, the tack, which is probably going to work for about 4 minutes. The water, and then the oil pressure, basically essentials that we need. And we got the rear harness done. We got the headlights in. I disconnected the fuel pump so we wouldn't be pumping oil and shit, or pumping fuel and shit. Those come on. I don't know what fucking that means, so we'll find out. Pretty sure that MSD is getting power. And then we got blinky boys. Got brake lights. I just cut my shin. This is his headlight switch. So he's got those pretty dim headlights, so that's great. And then should be all set to see if this thing wants to make noise. Literally all that's left is he's just got to finish putting a couple quarts in, and then bolt the converter, and then we can turn it over, build oil pressure, and then go from there. I'll hook the laptop up to it. So
All Are we just gonna undo the fuel pump and spin the motor over?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, we're gonna finish that up and then we'll see if it fires up.
All right, guys, so it's been a couple hours. We are basically ready to fire this thing up. I ran into one issue. The torque converter bolts that I bought are not long enough, but we have them in and they're tight enough just to get the thing started and idling. We have water in the radiator, or we're still working on that. We have trans fluid, we got oil, power steering fluid. Everything seems tight. So very shortly here, we should be ready to try to fire this thing up and see if this thing comes to life. So it's been a hell of a journey. I'm nervous as hell right now. Matt, how do you feel?
Fine.
I mean, it's not his car, so he's probably cool with it.
Well, I've also done this before with a very much more expensive engine.
Yeah, so. But this is my first project like this. So the last car I had, I just put some bumpers on it and suspension and called it good. So we'll be right back with hopefully this thing will be making some noise.
So we're gonna test to see the fuel pump is disconnected. There is fuel in the carburetor and the lines, so there's a chance this thing may pop off. But really I'm looking for oil pressure. I want to see if this is reading, and I want to see if we're getting RPM on the computer. So
Okay, so we weren't expecting it to just fire up and run right there, but we do have a very big issue. One, it actually wasn't reading any oil pressure, so oil pressure sat right at 0. So that's not good. The other thing, when Matt went to go shut the thing off, it kept running, so I had to come up front here and unplug the coil packs to get it to shut off. So that was a little freaky, but I can't believe the thing fired off like that right away. So, yeah, that was a little freaky, but we're going to keep working, and we'll try to figure out some of these issues and try to figure out why this thing wouldn't shut off when Matt hit the ignition. So, we'll just keep working at it. All right, Matt, we've had some time to look at it. What are you seeing?
well, we're not getting a cam sensor. We got a crank, but the sensor's faulting, or the cam sensor's faulting. So that explains why we're not getting RPM. I don't know what the fuck this aftermarket gauge, JEG's RPM was reading. It was reading like 8100.
Yeah.
So, but the RPM gauge on the computer wasn't even reading. So that's why we're not getting RPM. I don't know what's wrong with the oil pressure. It looks all hooked up. It's getting power, and it's reading 0. I don't know if it's a faulty sensor, if it's just, or what. I don't know if the area that it's put in is just not seeing RPM or the pressure it needs to read anything. But we took the valve cover off and we spun it over, and oil's coming up the valve train. So I know it's got at least like 2 pounds.
It's got a little bit. I mean, it was only the battery's kind of dead, so it's spinning slowly, but we were seeing oil coming up through there, so we have oil pressure.
And then I'm pretty sure I figured out why it continued to run. So I intended to put another switch on the MSD's power lead, and I forgot to. So we shut the harness off, but the MSD did not shut off. So that's probably why it kept running. So now I kind of got this cobbled together effing whatever this is, but it does shut off, or at least I'm pretty sure it shuts off, because this red bar, I would assume, means that the MSD is not showing anything. As soon as I turn it on, it comes back up. I also don't know why the coolant temp's in Celsius, and I'm too stupid to know how to read that, so I'm gonna assume 28 degrees Celsius is like 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to change it. I'm sure I'll fuck with it and figure it out.
Yep. So right now, my buddy David, he's pulling the cam sensor. We have a second one here. We're gonna try swapping cam sensors, and we're gonna see if it'll read the new this cam sensor here. That's a brand new one, so I don't know why it's not working, but you know, every once in a while you get a bad one. So we're gonna replace that and see what happens. All right, guys, so as you saw, we got the thing running. We do have a few issues. We actually figured out, I believe I have the pressure sensor for my AM gauge is on the wrong side of the block off plate where the oil cooler lines were. So we're gonna switch that around. I actually bought a different plate I bought a different block off plate. It's got just one hole in it for 1/8 inch NPT threading. So you can screw the sensor right into it. So that should help with that issue. Basically this one won't work because it's too close to the header. So it is what it is. But the car's running. I'm freaking ecstatic. We got a few things we got to go over first before, you know, we try doing this again. I got to get the right torque converter bolts, get it spaced out. We got to get the oil pressure thing figured out. And then we believe we figured out the cam fault. It may be the harness that I have is not correct. So we'll get that figured out. But the thing runs and it sounds freaking sweet. I can't wait to get the idle adjusted and get her idling real good. So lots more videos to come, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I apologize if the video kind of seemed a little all over the place. It was pretty hectic trying to get everything done and get this thing fired up for the first time. I was nervous as hell. So I'm working on trying to film a little bit better, but I hope you guys are excited about it because I'm freaking ecstatic, and hopefully soon we'll be able to take this thing on its first drive. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one.